There's something quietly magnetic about a man who tries to hide what he feels. You know that look he gives when he thinks you're not watching, the way his eyes linger just a bit longer than they should, or how his whole energy shifts the second you step into the room. He's calm, confident, maybe even a little distant, but underneath that calm, something real is stirring. He's craving you, even if he's doing everything he can to keep it buried. Most women assume that if a man truly wants you, he'll make it obvious. He'll text first, chase harder, and say exactly how he feels. But here's the truth most women never see. Men crave differently. They're taught to control desire, not express it. They learn to cover it up with logic, jokes, or busyness. Yet that craving doesn't just disappear. It slips through in other ways. You'll catch it in the way he hesitates before he speaks, in the small jokes he makes, or how protective he suddenly becomes without realizing it. Once you understand how to read those hidden signals, you'll never again wonder what he's really feeling. It all becomes clear. Today, I want to show you 7 quiet signs a man is craving you day and night, even if he'd never admit it. But before we go there, let's get one thing straight. This isn't about playing games or decoding texts. It's about understanding real emotional truth, because attraction isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it hides behind sarcasm, friendship, or even distance. So many women misread these quiet moments. They assume he's just friendly, or he's too busy, when deep down, he's fighting emotions he doesn't know how to manage. Maybe you've met a man who's stable, kind and calm, but something in his eyes tells another story. You catch him looking, and when your eyes meet, he looks away too quickly. You feel the tension, that electric pull, but he shrugs it off with humor. You wonder, was I imagining that? You weren't. Because when a man truly craves you, his body and emotions will always reveal the truth his words try to hide. He might say, "I'm not looking for anything serious," but his actions will tell a completely different story. You'll feel it in how he says your name, the way his voice slightly changes when you mention another man, or how he remembers the tiniest details about you, even the things you've forgotten. I used to believe that if a man wanted me, he'd make it obvious. But now I understand. The men who stay the most composed often feel the most deeply. Why? Because craving isn't comfortable. It's vulnerable. It takes away control. And that's exactly what scares most men. Losing control around a woman who truly affects them. So instead of showing it, they try to manage it. They suppress, they rationalize, they keep busy. But here's the thing, energy never lies. His words might hide, but his energy always tells the truth. That's exactly what we're going to read today. Because once you know these subtle emotional and psychological signals, you'll see everything differently. It's like switching from black and white to full color. You'll stop chasing, stop wondering, and start seeing the truth right in front of you. Because craving isn't about words or actions, it's about connection. That deep, magnetic energy between two people that can't be faked. So stay until the end, because the 7th sign will reveal the one thing he's been silently hiding from you all along. Have you ever noticed how his whole energy changes the moment you walk into a room? Maybe he's laughing with friends, relaxed and easy, but the second you appear, something shifts. His voice drops a little, his posture straightens, his attention sharpens, not in an obvious way, but like a quiet pull he can't resist. He may not even realize he's doing it. That's what makes it so genuine. When a man craves you but tries to hide it, he acts normal, but his attention always gives him away. He'll notice your laugh from across the room. He'll remember small things you said in passing. Sometimes he even starts using your phrases or gestures without realizing it. That's called emotional mirroring. His subconscious is syncing with yours because you've become his emotional focus. And the funny part, the more he tries to act indifferent, the more those little signs start to show. The quick glance when you smile, the slight pause in his body when you pass by, or the way he seems to hold his breath when you speak. Here's the paradox. Sometimes he even talks less around you. Not because he's uninterested, but because he's processing too much. His feelings are loud inside his head, and the craving makes him cautious. He's scared that if he says too much, his voice will give him away. Then comes the second sign. He tries to impress you without looking like he's trying. It's subtle, but you'll notice he casually mentions something he accomplished, not in a bragging way, just enough to sound effortless. He might fix his shirt when you walk by, or drop a clever joke to see you laugh. It's his version of grooming, not just physical, but emotional. It's not only about appearance, it's about signaling capability. Men deeply crave to be seen as strong, grounded, and dependable, especially by the woman they desire. So when he starts showing up more often, offering help, giving thoughtful advice, or simply being around, it's not random. He's creating a safe emotional space for you, a place where you can feel both impressed and comfortable without realizing why. But he'll play it cool. He'll act like it's no big deal because admitting effort would reveal emotion, and emotion feels risky. What most women miss is that craving isn't just physical. It's about wanting to prove value. When a man starts showing you his best side, it's his quiet way of saying, I want you to see the best in me, even if I'll never say it out loud. And the calmer he seems, the more deliberate those actions actually are. Now the third sign, his emotions fluctuate around you. This one's huge. You'll notice moments where he's warm, funny, completely engaged, and then suddenly distant or quiet. It's not because he's lost interest, it's because his desire is fighting his self-control. When a man's feelings deepen, it stirs both excitement and fear. That push-pull you sense, one moment he's playful, the next he pulls back. That's not confusion, it's chemistry. You're making him feel something that bypasses logic, and his defense is to retreat just long enough to steady himself. It's like emotional whiplash. He's drawn to you but scared to expose too much. If you stay calm and warm instead of chasing or questioning his behavior, something shifts. He begins to feel safe expressing what he feels. His guard lowers, his tone softens. He starts asking about your world, your thoughts, your dreams, your moods. And here's the twist. The more emotionally steady you are, the more his subconscious begins to trust you. Because for most men, real craving goes far beyond physical desire. It's about emotional safety, the feeling that he can be seen, understood, and still respected. That's the rarest thing he craves most. A woman who sees through his silence but doesn't punish it. I once coached a woman who kept saying, he acts hot and cold, I can't figure him out. But when she finally stopped reacting and just started watching, everything changed. She let his rhythm play out without trying to control it. And slowly, he began to open up. Not through big emotional talks, but through tiny moments, a longer look, a deeper question, a softer tone, slower goodbyes. See, real craving isn't about chaos or confusion, it's connection hiding behind uncertainty. The same tension that leaves you puzzled is often proof that he feels something real but isn't ready to show it yet. And maybe that's the beauty of it, because when craving stays unspoken, it develops its own quiet language. You can hear it in the silence, notice it in a glance, and feel it in the space between you. So, how do you tell when that craving shifts from simple admiration to something deeper, emotional attachment? That's when the next signs begin to show, and they might surprise you. When a man starts to crave you deeply, his mind doesn't just think of you once in a while. It starts to circle around you, day and night. Have you ever noticed how he starts showing up in the smallest corners of your life? Maybe he reacts to your stories with a quick emoji, or sends you a random meme saying, "This reminded me of you," with no real reason behind it. It's never a full confession, but it's always enough to keep the connection alive. That's what emotional craving looks like when a man's logic tries to disguise it as casual conversation. He tells himself he's just being friendly, but deep down, he knows what he's doing. He's keeping that invisible thread between you alive, the one that lets him feel close without risking rejection. He might reach out for no reason, then pull back the moment you respond too warmly, as if to reset the emotional space. This pattern isn't a game, it's self-protection. When a man craves you but fears losing control, he moves in a delicate dance between being present and disappearing. His messages, his timing, even his tone, none of it is random. They're emotional breadcrumbs. Each one quietly says, "I'm thinking about you, but I can't admit it yet." And if you're emotionally aware, you'll feel that rhythm. He doesn't actually want you to chase him. He just wants to know you're still there. Another sign shows up when he becomes slightly possessive without meaning to. It doesn't come out in words, it shows up in small, telling moments. He might not say, "I like you," but you'll see it in how he tenses when you mention another man's name, or how he quickly changes the subject when you talk about someone else showing interest. He might joke about it, but underneath the humor there's tension. He's testing emotional ground, wondering if he still has your focus. It's not the toxic kind of jealousy. It's the quiet realization that his emotions are getting involved. Even his body gives him away. His jaw tightens, his tone lowers, or his eyes hold onto yours a second longer than usual, as if trying to claim something he never officially had. Most men don't handle vulnerability easily, so when they crave someone deeply, they channel it through subtle competition. He might offer to help, show up more often, or try harder to make you laugh. Not to win you, but to remind himself that he still matters to you, that no one connects with you quite the same way he does. Here's the truth. Those tiny sparks of jealousy, when they appear in small moments, aren't about control. They're often the only way a guarded man allows his desire to surface, because craving someone without feeling a sense of claim can feel unsafe. But when you respond with calm warmth, when you smile instead of getting defensive, you show him it's safe to feel without losing pride. And that's when the emotional walls begin to fall. Then comes another sign. He starts to listen differently. When a man truly craves you, he doesn't just hear your words, he feels them. He remembers small details, the things you said weeks ago, the tone in your voice, the way your eyes lit up when you talked about something you loved. He'll bring those things up later like it's casual. "Didn't you say you loved that coffee shop near the park?" Or, "Hey, how did your sister's graduation go?" Those little callbacks aren't random. They're emotional bookmarks. Small ways he keeps a sense of closeness alive in silence. Listening for him becomes an act of intimacy. He's studying you, not to manipulate but to understand, to feel closer. He may never say, "I miss you," outright, but you'll see it in how he remembers your world as if it's part of his. When you're together, his attention sharpens. Everything else seems to fade into the background. It's not because you demand it, it's because you've quietly become his emotional center. The more peace and safety he feels in your energy, the more he craves it. And that craving doesn't always show up as passion or intensity. Sometimes it's soft, steady, like a magnet pulling him toward the one person who feels like home. That's why even when he's busy, distracted, or surrounded by others, he'll find small excuses to reconnect. A text, a comment, a subtle just checking in. Emotionally, you've become his grounding point. I've seen this pattern repeat itself countless times. It's never the grand gestures that give a man away. It's the quiet, consistent connection, the unspoken pull. He may think he's in control, but the more he resists, the deeper the craving grows inside him. And that's why the final sign is always the most revealing. The moment when his craving stops being simple attraction and turns into emotional dependence. The point where he doesn't just think about you, he feels you everywhere. When he's around you, he might look calm, relaxed, even collected, but the real test is what happens when you're not there. If you notice he becomes quiet, distant, or restless after moments of closeness, it's not disinterest, it's withdrawal. Because craving isn't just about wanting to be with someone. It's about needing their energy to feel centered. Once he's emotionally connected to you, your presence becomes his balance point. And when that presence is gone, even for a while, he feels the emptiness. He might not understand it, so he tries to distract himself, staying busy, making excuses, convincing himself that he's fine. But then something small, a song, a scent, a random thought, brings you back into his mind, and suddenly all those buried feelings rush back. He'll check your social media, not out of obsession, but to feel close again. He'll replay tiny details in his mind, the sound of your laugh, the way you looked at him, how your voice softened when you said his name. He won't tell anyone because men rarely talk about this kind of emotional craving. But inside he feels it deeply. You've become his quiet obsession, the background song his mind keeps playing on repeat. And this is where many women misunderstand him. They think his silence means he's lost interest, but in truth, that distance is his way of managing the intensity of what he feels. He's trying to find balance between wanting you and needing to stay in control. For the first time, he doesn't know if his logic or his heart is leading him, and the harder he tries to act normal, the more his emotions start to show. You can see it in the timing of his messages, in the pauses, in the way he reappears after pulling away, as if nothing happened, as if his silence was just a breath he needed to take before coming back again. Because that's what craving does. It pulls him in, lets him go, and pulls him back even stronger. And the deeper it goes, the less he can hide it. Not in his words, not in his timing, not in the way his energy changes when you walk into the room. Craving has its own quiet language, and once you learn to read it, you'll never doubt his feelings again. That's not distance, that's craving control. He's hoping that time and space will dull what he feels, but when it doesn't fade, he begins to realize something deeper. You're not just someone he likes, you've become part of his emotional rhythm. That's when craving turns into connection. It's not obsession, it's alignment. He feels calmer when your energy is near, more centered when he hears from you, more at peace when he knows you're okay. That's the hidden truth about masculine desire. It's not about control, it's about comfort. The woman who brings calm becomes unforgettable. When he starts linking peace with your presence, that's when he's emotionally hooked. And it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because all this time he's been trying to hide how much he feels, but every attempt to bury it only makes it stronger. You'll notice it when he finally reaches out again. His tone softens. There's something more open in his message, less guarded, more real. Maybe he asks how you've been, mentions something from the past, or simply says, "I was thinking about you." That's not random. That's emotional surrender in disguise. The craving has grown into a connection he can't ignore anymore. At that point, you don't need to chase, convince, or decode anything. You just need to stay real, steady, and feminine in your energy. Because the more grounded and confident you are, the deeper he'll lean in. Craving doesn't survive because of mystery. It survives through emotional depth. When he feels your presence brings calm instead of confusion, warmth instead of pressure, he'll start choosing your energy over everyone else's. That's when you'll know he's not just craving you physically or emotionally, he's craving the version of himself that exists when he's around you. And that is the purest form of attraction. So what do you do when you feel all this? When you notice his silence, his subtle pull, his quiet attempts to reconnect? You don't have to call it out. You don't have to ask for clarity. You simply return to your own energy. Keep being the woman who knows that his craving isn't proof of your worth. It's a reflection of your presence. the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove, perform, or please. When you stay in that space, the connection naturally deepens, without effort, without pressure. Because men don't crave women who chase, they crave women who stay steady while their world wobbles. That kind of steadiness is magnetic. It's what turns quiet desire into lasting respect and fleeting attraction into emotional devotion. And as we close, I want you to remember this. He may not admit it, he may not show it, but somewhere between his silence and his small gestures, his heart is speaking a language you can feel. If you've ever wondered whether a man secretly longs for you, the answer isn't in his words. It's in the way his energy changes when you pull away. When you understand that, you stop chasing love. You start attracting it, because you've become the calm he doesn't want to lose. Here's the quiet truth that lingers after the moment fades. When a man craves you, it's not about control or seduction. It's about connection. The deep kind that sneaks up on him when he's driving home, scrolling his phone, or lying awake, replaying that one look you gave him. He won't say it out loud, he might even try to dismiss it. But craving doesn't disappear just because it's unspoken. It hides in the pauses, in the breath before he says goodbye, in the way his energy lingers in a room you've already left. And here's what matters. He's not drawn to you because you're perfect or because you fit his idea of what he thought he wanted. He's drawn to you because something about your presence disarms him. You make him feel safe enough to drop the mask he wears with everyone else. Maybe he doesn't even understand why, but you do. You've learned to read what silence means. You can sense the truth without needing him to say it, and that right there is your power. It's not manipulation, it's awareness. The awareness that helps you move through connection with calm instead of anxiety, with clarity instead of confusion. So if you've ever felt that back and forth energy from a man who seems to want you but struggles to show it, don't see it as mixed signals. See it as proof that your energy has weight, because it does. And that's where your feminine strength lives, not in chasing, not in proving, but in allowing his craving to unfold naturally, allowing yourself to stay centered while his emotions catch up to his heart. When you stop trying to analyze every word and instead focus on staying grounded, something beautiful happens. You move from reacting to leading. You set the tone of the entire connection. That's what emotionally aware women do. They lead with energy, not effort. They understand that true attraction isn't about what you do. It's about how deeply you make someone feel. That's the difference between a temporary spark and a bond that lasts. You don't have to be the loudest in the room, the most glamorous, or the most mysterious. You just need to be genuine, because realness is magnetic, confidence is quiet, and peace is rare, and rare things always stand out. The more you live those truths, the more he'll crave your energy in ways he can't even explain. You'll become the calm that balances his chaos, the softness that challenges his control, the woman he can't replace. Because you're not performing, you're simply being. That's what keeps a man thinking about you long after he swore he was over it. That's what makes him remember your energy months later, when someone else's noise fades away. You become his reference point for what connection is supposed to feel like: warm, effortless, real. And that's why you never need to chase, because real connection doesn't need convincing. It recognizes itself. I used to believe love was about being chosen. Now I understand. It's about being felt. When you move through life with that awareness, everything shifts. You stop trying to earn affection and start attracting respect. You stop chasing attention and start commanding presence. And that's when everything changes, because a woman who knows her emotional worth is unstoppable. She doesn't fear silence. She doesn't panic when things slow down. She knows her value isn't defined by someone's response. It radiates from within. That's the kind of energy that makes men crave you, not for what you give, but for who you are when you're grounded in your truth. So if this message touched you, reminded you of your quiet power, or helped you see his behavior in a new way, don't let it stop here. Join a space where women grow stronger, smarter, and more emotionally confident together. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and be part of this community of women who are redefining attraction, not through games, but through awareness and grace. Because when you understand how energy, presence, and self-worth connect, you don't just change your relationships, you change your entire life. Before you go, remember this: the woman who's most desired isn't the one who's always available. She's the one who's emotionally grounded enough to make a man feel both desire and peace at the same time. She doesn't chase validation, her presence speaks for her. That's who you're becoming, the woman who doesn't just attract love but awakens it. And once you step into that energy, you'll never have to question who wants you again. You'll already know. Your transformation begins here, right now.